Hi, I'm Mike Edwards. The company is Home Improvement Doctor Limited and we are part of the DIY Doctor Group. Every now and again we are asked by various manufacturers and suppliers whether or not we would test some of their tools and products. And this week we're busy testing a range of Karcher vacuum cleaners. Karcher, as I've said in earlier videos, are synonymous with power washers. But having tested one of their vacuum cleaners already, we're actually very impressed. And this one promises a great deal more. This is the WD 3500. It's 1400 watts and it holds 17 litres of either your finest dust or liquid from one source or another. And that all, of course, goes in the body. We'll talk about that more in a moment, but let's start at the very end, the business end of the machine. This is the head. And this head comes with a couple of clips. This is a wet and dry machine, a wet and dry vacuum cleaner. And for dry, when you're hoovering up some dust, as we will do in a moment, or at least we'll hope to do, you get a brush attachment. And for the wet area, when you're cleaning up liquids, you get a couple of squeegees on the head head attachment. They clip very, very simply in place into the head of the machine. It doesn't get any easier than that, and you can simply swap them over whenever you do, whichever you're doing, wet or dry. So we'll leave the dry one in there for now, put the wet one to one side and work our way up. The machine clearly comes with the head and two extension hoses, which is perfectly normal stuff for any vacuum cleaner. And the handle, all of this folds up quite neatly and makes this machine very portable. The hose simply wraps around the body here, and there are various slots in the back for placing the extension hoses. The brush itself clips into a little holder in the back, etc, etc. So as you can see, the nozzle fits in the side, and there's holders for other accessories that you can buy for the vacuum cleaner itself. So we like that. We like the fact that it will go in our van or will go in your cupboard very easily, with all of the hoses and the cables and everything out of the way, and can be moved around fairly easily. When you buy one of these, the wheels come separately, the casters, but they push very, very easily into the holes on the bottom of the machine. You can tell by the way I'm lifting it, it's also very light, and as I've said, all in all, very portable machine. A couple of really special features about this vacuum cleaner. Hopefully the cameraman can catch on the front. The on-off switch on this particular vacuum has a couple of functions as well, simply because the machine has 2 or 3 functions. In ordinary dry mode, it will go on to setting number 1. That will allow the machine to suck up the dust, etc. from the floor. Number 1 is also used for the wet section, so anything that we're sucking from the floor, we operate on setting number 1. Setting number 2 is the automatic setting, and that comes into play when we plug in our power tool. That tells the machine, please turn yourself on the minute the power tool is turned on. And then once that's done, we're back to setting number 1 for using the blower part of the machine. The hose is moved from the front to the back from the blower, and there are very clear pictograms, if you like, on each opening to tell you what they do. This particular machine acts as an extractor for power tools, so it's absolutely ideal for the home improver. You simply plug your power tool into this socket, so the machine itself is plugged into the mains, your power tool is plugged into this socket, and so this acts as an extension lead, and when you start your power tool, it automatically starts the hoover. Now that's all well and good, but what does it do? Well, what it does, it allows you to plug the hoover end, or the vacuum cleaner end I should say, of the machine into a power tool. And this is the power tool we're going to be using. It's a big sander, and the nozzle that comes with it simply fits in to your power tool, and when I start this power tool a little later on, it will start the hoover and extract the dust from this piece of timber that I'm going to be sanding down. So that's a very clever idea, and this attachment comes with the machine in the box. So we're going to give that a try in a moment. It is clever. Anybody that's ever used a big power saw or a sander, when you buy them you normally get a little dust bag like this. These are okay, but they get full very, very quickly. The zip quite often breaks the minute you start using it, and although it collects quite a lot of dust, it's pouring out of the other end as soon as you're using it. So we're going to try this out and see if that operates as well as the dust bag. So the first thing that we're going to do is just to use it as a normal hoover, and you'll see behind me I've tipped a lot of plaster dust and sawdust and stuff on the floor, and we're going to turn it on to its dry mode and hoover that up. Wow, that's about as good as any DIY industrial type Hoover vacuum cleaner that I've used. We've kept a range of vacuum cleaners in our van as we've travelled around the country doing various jobs. That's about as powerful as any of the others. You'll notice that at one point I took the brush attachment from the head and simply used the head without the brush attachment. That was to pick up the bigger bits of plaster which the brush was just moving about, really. But they were quite big bits. They were the sort of the bits that you will find in your workshop, or if you've done some skin plastering or whatever, they are the size. It's no good pretending that everything's going to be really fine, easy to clean dust. But by taking the brush attachment off and just using the head, it coats with those really, really well. Everything goes from there, obviously down the tube, into the body of the machine. And the instructions will tell you that if you are using, if you're cleaning up dust and plaster dust, etc., that we've just done, that's absolutely fine to use it the way it is, because the machine itself is, in that particular example, bagless. as you can see. It goes through this filter into this container here, which, as I said before, holds 17 litres. If you are going to hoover up some very fine dust, then it suggests that you fit a bag to the cleaner and then dispose of the bag when it's full. Everything goes through this filter, so when we do some hoovering up of liquid in a moment to use the wet part of the wet and dry machine, this filter is going to get soaking wet. The instructions tell us to take this filter off, which is easily done with by turning this screw here. That will allow us to take the filter off. We can wash the filter out under a warm tap and then leave it to dry. So if we have wet stuff to hoover up and dry stuff to hoover up, do the dry stuff first, then the wet stuff, then dry the filter out before you do the dry stuff again. If you try to do the dry stuff with a wet filter, it'll just collect it and just clog it all up. So that's the dry operation from this particular machine. That's the Karcher WD 3500. This is available from Screwfix with it on a next day delivery. And now we're going to test it on using the wet part of the machine. Nothing changes. We can remove the nozzle, put that back in its clip. We can put the head back on, and then we'll change the brush attachment within the head to the squeegee attachment in the head, and then of course we need some liquid. So we'll use the same area and we'll saturate this piece of carpet. This tub was about half full when I tipped that on there, and by looking at what we're going to pick up, we will see just how much of that we get back. Okay, so turn it on. Okay, now that's just a couple of minutes on a saturated carpet with not a particularly good carpet. This is the carpet we use when we're doing exhibitions on it. It's not a deep pile carpet, it's only a very thin pile, and I suspect that a lot of the water's soaked right through onto the floor. But what we can do is have a look to see how much we collected just in that couple of moments, just by taking off the top and then tipping what we've collected back into the pot. Now that is very good indeed. I'll show the camera. That was about half full, as I said, so about an inch above that. So just in a couple of moments, we've hoovered up probably, I don't know, 8/10 of that water, and I could feel that the machine was ready to take some more up. So that's very powerful indeed. I'm quite impressed with that. So that's operation number 2 for this particular machine. Okay, now I'm going to ignore the instructions for a moment. It's not a good idea for you to do this at home, but we are demonstrating this machine, and it's better to do it in one take than several takes. So I'm going to now attach the part of the machine, the hose to the part of the machine that acts as a dust extractor for the tools we're going to use. And as I said at the top of the video, we're actually going to use a sander for this. So by placing the hose, a very simple clip action. I don't know if the cameraman can catch that again, but that's simply pressed in and that's it, locked into place. That's excellent. And then we're going to take away the tube, the head and its tubes, and then I have to ask the cameraman to follow what I'm doing here. We're going to unplug the sander from its RCD socket, and we're going to put that into the hoover itself. So the hoover is plugged into the mains, also via an RCD socket. Our sander is now plugged into the hoover, and now we're going to attach via this little accessory nozzle which comes with the vacuum cleaner. We're going to plug that straight in to the sander. So as you can see, that's fitted in there now. Now what should happen, make sure all the cables are out of the way. What should happen is that when I turn this sander on, it should automatically start the vacuum cleaner and start sucking out any dust that's being extracted from or picked up by the sander. Let's make sure that nozzle's in completely. I'll turn the sander on and the hoover will kick in. So the sander was on and off very quickly, the hoover kicked in and ran on for 2 or 3 seconds. So that's a very, very clever piece of equipment. So now I'm going to untangle some of these cables so that we don't fall over, move around the machine so we can keep that out of the way now, and using the hose, bring the machine closer because that's very portable on wheels, and we can actually use the machine for sanding. But before I do that, I'm going to put some goggles on just to protect myself. And here we go. Now just by looking around the room I can see there's no dust. I couldn't see what you're seeing on the video, so I don't know whether any dust flew out behind me, but I suspect not. I could actually feel the machine sucking the dust out as the sander was working. So again, that's really quite impressive. All through a simple accessory nozzle that actually does come with the machine. So that's invaluable in a workshop. If you're doing any DIY home improvements in your garage or whatever, and you can get rid of all the dust, that's excellent. I didn't put a mask on then. I'm hoping that you will be wearing a mask when you do stuff like that. I didn't put it in there to enable me to talk to you. That's why I only did it very, very briefly. Breathing in sawdust, not a great idea. And the very final thing, I've saved this until last, the very final thing that this machine does is by putting the hose into the back of the machine, you've turned it into something that sucks to something that blows. Now, I don't have, we'll see if we can demonstrate this just on the bit of dust that we have got, but if you can imagine that we can do this perhaps out in the garden with some leaves or whatever, and we'll see how powerful that is. The cameraman's waving at me frantically there because I'm blowing all the dust at him. Clearly not the most powerful blower in the world, but in a workshop, when you want to clear an area, clean a surface or whatever, just to blow it out of the way before you sweep it up into a dustpan or whatever, absolutely adequate. I think for a multi-function machine, this does. Generally, you find in the home improvement industry that the more jobs you ask a single machine to do, the less well it does any of them. But this particular thing, its dry suction power was good. Its wet suction power was excellent, surprised me. The fact that it operates on an on-off basis with a power tool and there was so little dust afterwards was excellent. And the fact that it will blow an area clean for you to get it clean. If you're about to do some painting or whatever, you want to blow everything out of the way, let the dust die down and then get on with it. So that's the Karcher 3500, an excellent machine, available from Screwfix, as I've already said, on next day delivery. We like it, certainly recommended by DIY Doctor.